Hi, I'm Shannon Daly.
And I'm Karan Smith.
And welcome to BT Live. On today's show, we ask students at Burlington Township High School how they stay positive during COVID-19.
And I also have a very special interview coming up with Mrs. Threadgill, the Vice Principal at Burlington Township High School.
Coming up on BT Live.
Hello everyone, my name is Karan Smith and welcome to BT Live. Today we have a special guest, Mrs. Threadgill, Vice Principal at BTHS, and today we just have a couple questions for her to get to know her better and her big role at the high school. First, I would like to ask, how long have you been Vice Principal at Brent?
I have been the Vice Principal here for 14 years. I started my career here as an English teacher. I taught for 6 years, and the rest of it, I've been here for 20 years, so the rest of it has been Vice Principal.
Wow, I actually didn't know you were here for that long.
Yeah,
and I also didn't know you were an English teacher.
I started out as an English teacher. In order to become a principal, to have a principal cert, you have to teach for a certain number of years in New Jersey. So I taught for 6 years before I became a vice principal. So some of the students that are here have probably had your older brothers or sisters.
What are some of your responsibilities as vice principal?
I'm obviously responsible for discipline. It's not one of my favorites, but it's what I'm responsible for. And any type of student issues. So even if you were having a problem with something or you needed someone to talk to, I'm responsible for that. I'm also responsible for teacher observations. I am also the content administrator for the English department. So I'm in charge of all of the curriculum that goes on in the English department. Because I was an English teacher here, that's part of the reason why. I also deal with like pictures and scheduling pictures and like things like that, IDs. Everybody knows when you need an ID, you can find Mrs. Threadgill. So anything that, and also when Dr. Brownridge, I'm never gonna get that right. When Dr. Brownridge is not here, the responsibility obviously comes on us. So whatever his responsibilities are, then become ours as well.
So within these responsibilities, your many, many responsibilities, do you ever face challenges?
Absolutely. Especially now during the pandemic. One of the biggest challenges I face is that normally if a student is dealing with something or having an issue, I can find out, I can call a student out in my office and we can work it out. Since most of the students are remote, it's very hard to know what's going on out there, to have the pulse on the students and what they're really dealing with. And that's the reason I became an administrator, was to work with students. So for the students not to be in the building has been very difficult for me because I feel like there's things that I could have either circumvented or controlled had I had people in my presence. And that's been very difficult. The job itself can just be very time-consuming in the fact that you have to make decisions and you have to make them on the fly. And you hope you make the right decision. And sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't. But you at least have the knowledge base to make sure that you do the best that you can with what you have. One of the things I love about working with Dr. Brownridge and Mr. Iconic and Mr. Russell is that we don't make decisions by ourselves. If there's something that I'm struggling with, I know I can go to one of them and they're going to help me. Or if there's something that we're doing, we talk about it together and then we make the decision together. So we never do anything by ourselves.
So you guys, it's kind of like a team effort.
Absolutely.
So if you were not a vice principal, do you have any other careers that you would like to seek out other than that?
Well, actually, I part-time as a sales representative at Pandora, the jewelry store. I've been doing that for about a year. Not that I would make that a career. That's my, I don't have to think because I'm not in charge of anything. So I go and I sell jewelry, and then I get a really good discount. So that's what I do. As far as a different type of career, I've come in contact with people who are in human resources. And I think in my next life, I would probably go into human resources. And again, still working with people. I interview as well. I do interviews for teachers and things like that. We do demo lessons. So that part of it would probably be where I would go. But as far as this, literally, I wanted to be a teacher since I was probably about 10. Administrator never came to me until later. So, and the fact that I moved up so quickly was pretty good because I'm not that old.
Are there any other secret or not hidden, but things that the students just wouldn't know? Are there any things like hobbies, hidden talents that you have?
Well, I think everybody should know by now I do sing. Oh, yes. Yeah, because I sing the national anthem at the basketball games. As far as other things that I don't think people would know, I'm pretty much an open book. So I don't know that there's anything else that I have out there that I wouldn't do. I know a lot of people it's funny because I see former students at Pandora all the time and they're like, Mr. Threadgill? I'm like, I still work at the high school. I go, oh, I'm like, yeah, I didn't go anywhere. I'm still here.
Who are some of your like favorite musical artists? Like if we were to take your phone and go into your playlist, who would we find?
So I grew up in the 90s, so I have a lot of, New Edition, who else is in there? Mary J. Blige, all the, what was it? That whole, era is in my phone. Gospel music. I do go to church. Well, ever since the pandemic, I'm not actually going. But so a lot of gospel music. Jazz. I love jazz too. Contemporary jazz kind of thing. I've come into some newer artists now. So like Hers in my phone, and Jasmine Sullivan might be in there, and I listen to DAS 105.3. So whatever they're playing is normally what I do. I love Charlie Wilson. He's old and whatever, but I like to listen to him. Sometimes his songs make me laugh. But I'm an R&B girl. Like, I don't do too much, well, depends on who the artist is, but like, I don't know if you guys know who Craig Mack is, but he's one of my, he's one of my favorite rappers, you know what I mean? I got a couple in there, but yeah. So I'm pretty much R&B, gospel, jazz kind of thing. But you give me a good country song or you give me a good rock and roll song, you know what I mean? I'll go with it. But I need to, music is very subjective, so it has to appeal to the nature, so.
What are some of your favorite foods?
Oh my God, I wish McDonald's would stop making French fries and chocolate chip cookies, because recently maybe this is something people don't know. In September of 2019, I started working with a weight loss coach. And so I have currently lost about 60 pounds. Congratulations. So my new thing is to not eat McDonald's French fries. Well, I still eat them.
They're very
Oh my God. And then the chocolate chip cookies, I had them warm one time. Oh my God.
I asked them to warm them up one time and they like refused for some reason.
So I was at the one in Mount Laurel and they must not have had any, ready. So they made them hot. I got them home and I unfortunately had to share them. Oh, I have a son. I have a 10-year-old. And unfortunately I had to share them with him and I didn't want to. But it was 6 and I didn't eat all 6 of them anyway.
Oh,
so yeah, at I'm a big Chick-fil-A person. I love Chick-fil-A. But then, you got your Chipotle and Panera. There's a new chicken place that just opened up on 38 in Lumberton. Colby's Southern something, but the line's been too long, so I'm not going to go over there yet.
It just opened up.
It just opened, on Monday.
Yeah, I rode by there a couple times, and the line was extremely long.
Absolutely.
I wanted to try it, but it was just...
Yeah, the line's too long. And even yesterday, the line was almost to the McDonald's. It was ridiculous. But yeah, so that's some of the stuff I like. I like all the same probably junk you guys do.
Okay, so with the pandemic and the current state of things and how things are going, do you have just any advice that you would give to the students just to get through and just to, stay positive throughout all this?
Well, one of the things that I would say, number one, is to don't be afraid, be aware. Obviously, as we've noticed, we shut down schools on the 13th of March. We're already past the 13th of March, so we've been in this for a year. And I think what happens is we tend to be afraid. I don't think fear is what's going to keep us from doing anything. I think what we need to do is be aware. So be aware of where you are, be aware of what you're doing. I find that I have a lot more things that I do now that I wouldn't have done pre-COVID. So like, for instance, somebody brought a box to the building. I delivered it to a teacher. I immediately went to the sink and washed my hands. Pre-COVID, I wouldn't have done that because I wouldn't have thought about it. So it's just really more about being aware. I have gotten vaccinated. I've had both of my shots at this point. Don't be afraid of that either. I mean, apparently, it happened in February, and I'm okay, And I think it's just one of those things where you just have to make sure that you're making good decisions, and you're really being conscious. I know people think the mask doesn't work and the distance between people doesn't work, but it does. And it's just about being aware and not being afraid, because if fear grips you too much, you're not going to be able to move forward. And eventually, we're all going to have to move forward, in time. And that's why I appreciate our governor. I know people have their druthers, but I think our governor is doing a good job to try to keep us safe. And that's what it's all about. It's about being safe. And don't be reckless. You know what I mean? Yes. Can't be reckless. But still live your life. And one of the things that Superintendent Bell has said to the staff as well is, you got to still live. You just have to live with some caution. But school is one of the places that I think now you guys realize it actually helps you through. So if you're dealing with things or you're having issues, let us know. We want to know. We want to help. And like I said earlier, we don't have that ability to be able to call you down to our offices right now. But that's what email's for. That's what the phone's for. We want to know how we can help. And I think that's our biggest struggle, is trying to figure out how to get to you guys to know that we're here for you, even though we're not in person.
Well, thank you for coming in and answering some questions. I hope you enjoyed the questions.
Absolutely. I love this kind of stuff. You guys can talk to me all the time.
All right. This has been Karan Smith with BT Live.
Some things I do to stay positive with the pandemic is doing hobbies I enjoy, like drawing, exercising, and photography.
What have I done to stay positive during the pandemic? It really has just been playing music. I love to play, I love to sit down. It's just really a time just to take out all your emotion, all your frustrations out. And this is what I do. This is how I cope. And I think music speaks to everybody, and I think it's what defines us all.
One of the ways that I've survived COVID, I've been working out, playing a lot of video games, playing sports with my friends, and just staying active, I guess.
Great interview with Miss Threadgill, Karan.
Yeah, it was very surprising how much she liked McDonald's fries.
It was also really interesting to hear from other BT students.
Definitely. Well, that's all the time we have for today.
Thank you for joining us with BT Live.